Hi, I'm Laurie Rodriguez, and this is Let It Be Said, you are a loved child of God. It is Friday, so make sure you take the time to go over what we've studied this week and read the Word and let it get into you. This is a hymn for the home. So 78 is a hymn for the home. And it's God is asking us that we would share God's word with our children, that we would be in the word and that we would share the word with our children. And it wasn't just like, hey, can you? He said, this is a commandment that you would share God and his mighty acts and his goodness with the next generation. So we've kind of gone through some stories, which like these stories are in Exodus. So you can go to these stories, read them, and then tell them to your children because they're pretty interesting. They're very good lessons to learn. But we're now in 78 and 23 through 31. But he commanded the skies to open. So the people have craved bread and meat. And God was very furious. And so now this is his response to their request. But God commanded the skies to open, and he opened the doors of heaven. He rained down manna for them to eat. That's bread. He gave them bread from heaven. They ate the food of angels. I'd like to taste that manna. Maybe in heaven we can. God gave them all they could hold. So this is a really great story because it said that the manna would come in the morning and they would pick it up, and he said only have so much per family member. And so of course there's those who hoard, and if they took more, then the manna, the bread, would go bad. So God was teaching them, just take what you need, don't overdo it, don't be hoarding the food, because I'm going to give you everything you need every day, daily. In his word, daily. Taking in what he has to say on a daily basis. And then those who didn't take enough, there was enough for them as well. So God was looking out for his people. And it says, they ate the food of angels. God gave them all they could hold. He released the east wind in the heavens and guided the south wind by his mighty power. He rained down meat as thick as dust, birds as plentiful as the sand of the seashore. They wanted bread and they wanted meat. Well, God had intended to give them bread because he started the whole manna thing right away. He was feeding them through manna. But they were going like, oh, that we would have meat. So he said, you want meat? I'm going to give you meat. And he sent quails as thick as the sand is on the seashore. He caused the birds to fall within their camp and all around their tents. And the people said, yes, we have meat. We have our bread and we have our meat. So now they're happy. But then the people ate their fill. They just ate until they were sick, and he gave them what they had craved. But before they satisfied their cravings, while the meat was yet in their mouths, the anger of God rose against them, and he killed their strongest men. He struck down the finest of Israel's young men. We have to learn to make our cravings submit to us. We don't let our cravings direct us, because the cravings ended up killing the strongest of men, the finest of Israel. They crave something. Do you know that if you pray and you pray and you pray, or you push and you push and you push, you might get something that God doesn't want you to have, but it's not going to be good. It's not going to be good. God created you and me, and he knows exactly what we need when we need it. If we push and we get something that we weren't supposed to have because God shut the door, but we kept knocking on it, pushing on it. And then with the people, he said, hey, you want meat? I'll bring you meat. But then that wasn't God's will. And so what happened? Many died because of their cravings. And we need to teach our children this, that like you might crave something, but let's just wait. Like one of my sayings is, I want to go play when my kids were little. And I said, we work first and then we play. We don't have sweets in the morning. We have it later in the day. So teaching them to have self-control. You might want it, you might crave it, but we're not going to have it right now. I, as a good mom, would give them the things that they wanted when it was right, not just because they had they wanted instant gratification. I just want it now. And it would be like, no, you're not going to get it now. And that is what God was saying, but they weren't listening and they were craving and they were complaining. And God said, okay, I'm going to send it your way. Don't crave things that are not of God. Don't knock on the door when it's been shut. If God has shut the door, it's for love. It's for a good reason. He does not shut the door to withhold things from it. It says, no good thing does he withhold for those whose walk is blameless. Or, in other words, blameless means that we walk in the righteousness of Jesus. And so no good thing does he withhold. So if you're craving something, you really want something so bad, like my husband and I, we wanted a 280ZX and we wanted it so bad. And they said, no, it's not going to work. Your debt to income. And we went back and we went back and we went back. And then finally we got our 280ZX and I got a bunch of tickets and we ended up giving it back because we couldn't afford it. And God knew all that. But we were stubborn and rebellious and we wanted it our way and we were craving this really cool car and it was fun for a little bit, but then, it wasn't good. So if you're craving something, give it to God. And then if he takes it from you, let him take it from you. If he shuts the door, don't pound on the door. Just say, okay, this wasn't what was best for me. And we've learned our lesson and I have the car that I drive, I love, and we're debt free, and we've learned financially because God has taught us, because we listened to what he said. So Psalm 78, such a good chapter for you to teach your children. Don't forget to teach your children every day about the goodness of God, the mightiness of God, and the love of God. I'm Laurie Rodriguez, and this is Let It Be Said. You are a loved child of God. Have a great weekend.